How are you? My name's Mardi.
My name's Regina, and
you are
you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Hi, everybody. Here. Welcome. Huh?
So good to be here. Sorry.
It is good to be here. It's good to be anywhere. Hi, everybody. If you're new, like I said, my name's Mardi. That's Regina. We are women of a transgender, transsexual, whatever you want to call it, experience. I transitioned back in the 70s. She's a young little baby. She's like in her first 10 years. And you get to know us and you'll know all of our stories and our secrets. So I'm glad you can join us. Anybody that's new, if we're doing a premiere, hey, everybody in the premiere. We premiere this on Tuesdays at 11:11 p.m., 11:11 a.m. And yeah, I'm kind of rusty. And yeah, and if you're new to the show, don't forget to do what the ribbons say below. Please subscribe to our channel. And what's the next one?
Hey, ring the bell for notifications.
Ring the bell for notifications. And like
that.
Like our videos. Thank you. Please like us. So every week we do something a little different. But what are we going to do on the show today, Regina?
Well, today we're going to talk about what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks, while we've been off, and why, and then we're going to do some readings. Each one of us is going to read a piece, and we've interspersed throughout it all are going to be the current events and how overwhelming it all is, and finally, the pièce de résistance is going to be a brief, or maybe not so brief, discussion of the first unsolicited pic or dick video of Marty's that she received unsolicited out of the clear blue sky. And so we want to talk about that.
I'm innocent. Well, that's a hard lineup. Anyways, yes.
Ooh, what a double entendre that was.
Yes, my I guess I'm not a virgin anymore when it comes to unsolicited dick pics, but we'll get into that later on in the show if you remember to ask me.
So what have you been doing, Marty?
What have I been doing? Well, besides that last piece, I can't believe I'm embarrassed. What's been going on with me besides that? It's like I have to have some brevity, some laughter in my life right now because I really hit the wall the last 2 weeks. I've been, plagued with migraines again, and we had Easter 2 weeks ago, so. We were able to say, oh, well, Easter, we're taking a break anyway for Easter, and then Easter weekend. And then last week I went to Victoria for my eyes. I'm going to have eye surgery. The first one is scheduled for June, and I had to have these battery of tests and stuff. And we have to drive down island. And, my husband's 10 years older than me. And, so we stayed overnight because there was tests for 2 days in a row. And anyways, long story short, it was so exhausting. I didn't get much sleep. So on the drive home, I had one of those arrhythmia attacks too, and being overtired and yeah, just health stuff, right? So I ended up canceling last week's show because I was just so overtired. And I've also taken on this amazing project. I'm consulting on it was supposed to be a film, but they're turning it into a mini series. So I can't really talk about it except the content about it, but it is about the 1980s, and there is some trans characters in it. And so it's bringing up a lot of stuff. You mentioned to me this weekend, about how Regina, and it really hit the nail on the head because I was wondering about it. It's like you were just saying like that you noticed that once when I agreed to take on this project, my migraines increased, and because I'm also doing my regular social media stuff, so where I'm telling stories and everything too, right? And that's how these people found me, is through these stories. So I had to make the decision to I'm not telling any more stories on social media. I might do some fun dancing around with some captions type of thing just to let off some creative steam. But I need to just focus on this story, and it's enough because, there's a lot involved in those stories to bring up a lot of stuff. So it's just about knowing your limits. And this brings up another subject that I'd like to ask you about, and people can chime off in the comments or in the premiere right now. Is that I don't know about you, but I am absolutely at my wit's end when it comes to the dumpster fire that's happening in the United States, in your country. I'm Canadian, and I'm watching this, and I'm really involved because I'm doing a lot of advocacy work, especially on TikTok and stuff, to get, to debunk, a lot of the propaganda that is being perpetuated by right wing groups. And just there's just so much suffering on being shown on the internet that it's just I just can't I can't mentally handle it anymore. It's just too much. And I've lived through that war for us to watch us get these rights, and now it's up to the younger generation to get off their phones and get off their butts and get out there in the streets and frickin' and fight for these rights that we fought to give for you to have. And because I see a lot of people wallowing in the mire about it, type of thing, and it's like, no, like where are the marches? Where are the protest marches? Why aren't people like reacting like in the streets in France? You know what I mean, to these horrible things that are happening, like just the way that they talk about us online and stuff. Like, you can't even get away with that in Canada. It would be hate speech here. You cannot say that stuff in our media here because we're protected under the law. So it's just a lot. So I've had to really pick my battles. And my battle right now that I choose to do is to help with a project that can be stories that show from our past and stuff, because I don't have the wherewithal to really get into it anymore. So that's where I'm at. How are you? How's your life going in the last 2 weeks, honey?
Well, my life is pretty good. There's a lot of things going on with my business that are very positive, and I will get into that. But I would like to address what you just spoke to, and because I marched on Trans Day of Visibility, and it was a sizable march for a 30,000 population city. And I was impressed with the number of young people there. And so I think that the young people are very aware of what's going on. I live in one of the more liberal states. It's true. This is a very conservative area of that liberal state. And, but what? 60 miles from here is Idaho. And I've decided that I won't cross that boundary. I'm not going to go in. Not that I've been there recently, but I had my bottom surgery there.
Right.
And I'm not in any rush to go back over that line. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. All I can do is put one foot in front of the other one and keep on keeping on, which brings me back to my business thing. because I'm in the finalists of a big grant to grow my business. And the person who's in charge of that gave me a call the other day, and it was cool, and I am supposed to use the fact that I am a member of a marginalized community and
Absolutely.
a woman, and to because this is about improving those small businesses that are from the marginalized community and whatnot.
So let people know what this is. Like, this is, you could get a bunch of money.
Yeah, I could get up to $100,000,
And this is like in Washington, right?
it covers the 3 counties. It's just a small part of Washington that
Okay.
is eligible for this grant that I applied for.
And now you're the finalist, like you're one of 10 now, right?
One of 11.
One of 11. So this is getting close. This is getting close.
Yeah, I'm in money for, I could get the smallest prize, but I have to like do a big presentation on the 25th of May. And, we'll see how it goes. I've got a lot of work to do between now and then. But
is there any way that we can help you with that? Like, is there like voting or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
It's like a small panel of judges, and
okay.
And we'll see how it goes. I actually met
so everybody send out good vibes to Regina for the next like month. Like let's send her good vibes to get this business grant.
Don't stop in a month. Send me good vibes always. Order coffee. I mean, it's like exciting the things that are happening. And last month, I received a grant to participate that pays my way through the farmers market that I attend, and so things are looking up. It is this trans lady is getting out in public, making a difference. And that's what we need to change the tide, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
And that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's what we can do, is make a difference. I mean, we sit here and do this show, and it makes a difference in people's lives. So now it's time for a reading.
Well, you didn't say your hearing aids and shit.
Oh!
Come on, Grandma, get it together.
Yeah. So I went and got a hearing test the other day to see how my hearing aids are doing, and God, it was a disaster. They did this hearing test on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out to be basically not much different than what it's ever been. The lady that's doing it says, she looks at one of my hearing aids and says, we can't adjust these anymore because this software has changed now, and we no longer can do this model of hearing aid. And I looked at her and I did not react well. I said, oh, so this is just to get me to come in so you can give me a sales pitch on new hearing aids that are too expensive, that our government doesn't cover hearing, and old people dawdle off into nowhere land. And so I continued on my rant for a couple of minutes, and I asked her, what's the solution? Or what's the answer? And she asked me, what's the question? Like she didn't even listen. And so that was the end of it all. I stormed off, kind of pissy, stormed out of there. And this is what my reading is all about too.
Okay.
that kind of builds up to this.
Well, then why don't you do your reading? Lead right into it.
Okay. Do you recall how in Charlie Brown, or should I say the Peanuts movies, the adults all spoke with no words, just noise? It seems to me that some days my life is turning into a Charlie Brown movie. I am one of the kids because I can't understand what anybody is saying. It becomes gibberish unless you are sitting or standing very close to me. People complain because they are asked to repeat themselves often. Even if they don't say anything, I can see it in the body language and the expression on their faces. Yet we wonder why senior citizens start disappearing from larger gatherings. It might not be because they are getting old and want to go to bed early. I've begun to avoid places where hearing becomes difficult for me. Imagine yourself sitting at a table with others just like you who are conversing in a language you don't understand. Isn't that the loneliest feeling? Now, imagine that they are speaking the same language as you, but you still can't understand the conversation because you don't hear all the words. Isn't that even lonelier? Many buildings are not made to have conversations in. Hard surfaces bounce sound. The more hard surfaces, the more the sound is bounced. In large rooms, this creates echoes. For hearing impaired individuals, this makes hearing very difficult. We hear those echoes, hear them grow louder and louder. Crowded restaurants are a good example. I was recently invited to a coffee brunch a short time ago. It was held in one of my favorite coffee shop type restaurants. I was one of the last to arrive and took my place at the end of a long table. I had absolutely no idea what was being said at the other end. People would speak to me and I would not hear them. In frustration, I left. That is the incident that prompts me to write this. A few years ago, I sat on the board of directors for a local food co-op. I enjoyed being part of the community through service. It gave me that feeling of giving back to the community that surrounds us. As time went on, I realized I didn't enjoy the meetings. I was always wondering what was being said at the other end of the table. Afraid to join in the discussion because I wasn't sure what was being said. Picking up a sporadic word does not make understanding easy. At this point, I will add that I've been wearing high-quality hearing aids for several years. They help, but do not solve all the problems. They have come about because of a humiliation at the hands of a rude cashier at a local store who made fun of and bullied me because I couldn't hear. The next activity I gave up was acting. I loved the theater, the small roles on stage. My thespian career was short because of my embarrassment about not being able to hear the director when directing. I could fake that well enough, but my real fear was missing the other actors' voices when it was time for the cue line. Timing is everything. I did not want the humiliation of screwing up the performance. The hiatus of live productions brought on by the pandemic allowed me to fade into insignificance. Today, I am faced once again with a decision. I still sit on one board of directors. My term expires in a couple of short months. I question as to whether I want to continue or not because of my hearing issues. Always the meetings are in cavernous rooms. We are spread out as much as possible to prevent the spread of viruses. Consequently, I don't understand but about half of what is going on. I am not inclined to want to fade into insignificance, but I want to remain an active member of our community. Do others in this community have the same issues? Are other senior citizens staying at home, listening to TV at full volume, isolating because they've become uncomfortable with being confused in public? Would a little mindfulness by business owners help those of us who seek inclusion, or mindfulness of the population in general? Courtesy of speaking a little louder in meetings? Would inclusion of audio help in Medicare? Few insurance plans include hearing issues. Hearing aids are expensive. We need affordable solutions for those on fixed incomes. Is there some way to help shop owners improve the acoustics in their business? I am sure there are other questions to add to this list, but where are the answers? And that is the end.
That's great. So what's the bottom line with it's a struggle for sure. I can hear it. It's like that was, it shows what you've been struggling with your whole life with it. But so what's the bottom line? Is that where you got your last pair of hearing aids?
Yeah. And I made a trade for those, so yeah, there is no answer, and that's part of what my question was to the person there. Eventually these will quit working, and then I'm like screwed. I won't even be able to do this.
I would get a second opinion. Like go to your doctor and talk to them.
Huh?
What?
Me being funny.
Maybe you're not looking for solutions right now. Maybe you're in the
I want is a solution where audiology or hearing impairment is covered in a national health care.
Yeah, well, good luck with that in your country.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if we don't say anything.
Oh, no, it's good. No, I'm just talking to Regina, my friend. Like, what are you going to do? Like, is it possible that you can hear better?
I don't know.
Then that's why. That's why if I was you, I'd go to my doctor and I'd say, "This is what happened." It's like I want to know. Like, can I hear better? Like what's going on? Like, I don't know what to do.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's hearing doctors that you go to.
Well, yeah, I imagine they could go with what do they call it? Cochlear implant or something, where there's a bunch of stuff that comes out and hooks into my skull. And
no, that's for people that.
No, that's true. That's a legit way of.
No, well, go talk to. I know, but talk to a doctor in hearing first, like just to know whether is this the best you can do for your. Anyways, this is getting like I'm sure we're boring people to death with all of this, all of our aging stuff.
Well, sorry, I tried to warn you about my writing this week.
No, it's like Mardi goes on and on about her PTSD and her husband and her arrhythmias, and then we got Regina with her hearing aid and storming out of a hearing aid place, and it's like, and we're just we got to go. We're going to start making some placards, and it's like, and if we're not too tired, maybe we'll take a nap after we've made those, and then we'll get up and we'll go storming down the street to City Hall, and all they'll say is that
Senior Citizen March,
and all they'll say is like, "You're wearing your dress is way too high. Those trannies have been running around those streets going wild. Lock up your kids. Lock up your kids. They shouldn't last this long. What are we going to do? We've never had to deal with old trannies before, like out in the public."
Oh, we're coming. We're coming.
We're coming. We're happening.
We are happening.
We're just getting started. When this wave of like trans kids and young adults, anybody younger than 45, like there's a lot of trans people that are in that demographic. It's like it'll be a different ball game when they reach our ages, because they will be in places of voting power, and there'll be so much there'll be so much visibility, and it'll be a different world for them growing older.
Exactly. Well, one of the articles that I read this morning had to do with that very issue. Why is there so much higher young people who are
Because they're
trans
stoned, because they're
and
stoned.
old people, and the truth of it is it's probably the same number.
Because the war was even worse back then. It's like there was more casualties. Like, you got to look at it like that. That's why I'm saying now, like, with everybody, of course, everybody's freaking out. It's like all these rights being taken away, and it's like transgender health care for kids are being taken away, and all this stuff too. But looking at it as an old trans woman, it's like, you know, none of that even existed when I was young.
Right.
Like, that's the lens I'm looking at it with, and it makes me, of course it makes me go, oh my God, we have to fight this. But on the other side of it, I'm going, oh my God, this is fucking great. Like, look at how much progress we've made, that they're completely freaking out to take away these rights that we've never had before. So what I'm trying to say is that the genie's out of the bottle, and it's just a matter of time before the ebb and flow of the tide goes towards the arc of progress, right? And so I'm just saying that, just to not lose faith for these younger people, to not lose faith, because I'm telling you, like, it's like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's not like when people compare it to the Holocaust back then. Sure, there's a lot of the propaganda and all that stuff. Sure, I get that, but we're so in the fabric of consciousness now about what trans is and stuff. They're not just gonna. We haven't even been labeled as a mental illness for like decades. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. They would have to go. It would have to be such a fascist. It would have to just completely turn insane. And it's like, and they would have to get rid of millions and millions and millions of people, not just 6 million. They'd have to get rid of hundreds of millions of people. Because, you know what I mean? Like, that you have in the Western world. Like, it's bad, but it's not as bad. And it's like, this is the work that the younger generation has to do. This is your civil rights moment of the 60s. This is it. This is your punk rock movement of the 80s, when Thatcher was like, Thatcher didn't think we should all be thrown in frickin', like, in England. It's like the turf. You want to know, Turf Island has always been there in England, but it's like that. But this was the anti-establishment, or the anti, like, and it's not even we don't even have to do anti-establishment anymore, because half of the establishment is for us.
Right. Right. And just to solidify that point that you're making, is that this last week there were 3 different laws in Michigan, I believe the state was, that were pro-trans. To counter some of these anti-trans laws, there's still states that are making pro-trans laws to go into effect immediately. So, so we are,
and we got to remember, with civil rights, like, look at with civil rights for Black people in the States. It's like, civil rights was going on. The northern, it's very mimicking like that. It's like, the northern states were like, it was just kind of a no-brainer. But there was those southern states that were still trying to frickin' get away with it, and people had to go to the streets, to the point that there was basically a revolution, and they had to send the National Guard to those places to say, you can go to those schools, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to be busing trans kids into those schools. Like, that's where it's going to go. You just watch, in frickin' 10 years, that'll be happening down there.
You think?
Oh, it'll be its own sort of thing. You know what I mean? It'll be unsafe. You know what I mean?
Right. You can't stop this. We've been here for,
No, no, like
and I'll tell you what, there are many allies out there who support us.
well, of course, because all it is, it's like we're such a small percentage of the population. This is just this is just uh, textbook propaganda, and we just happen to be the ones that they're using at this moment in time on Earth. At one point, it was the Jews. One point, it was like anybody that was not of white descent. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
eugenics was happening. Like they were trying to like do all this stuff. It's like they're trying to do anything, Ed. It's like, and it's slowly. It's so exhausting, and that's why I've just got to pull back and just kind of play my tambourine of hope, because I'm not going to get into those dialogues. I will not get into dialogues of people that go, "What is a woman?" or it's like, or those all those buzz phrases. It's like if people are saying that, don't even bother engaging with them. Don't even bother
So
engaging with them.
to keep us from engaging, why don't you do your reading now?
Okay. Here. Okay, I'm going to do one called Yoda Stenosis. It's an oldie but goodie.
Okay.
Yoda Stenosis. And the reason why I call this the story behind the word Yoda Stenosis is because one of the first times I got cash to go down to get my bottom surgery, I was like 20. I think it was the second time. Second time I was going to do it. And I was with this sugar daddy who did not know that I was trans. And I was presenting as cisgender girl. And it's like, so let me just say there was a lot of sleight of hand stuff for 2 years being with this person. And when I was going to ask him for the money to get the surgery, but I did not know how to ask for this amount of money. And I went to my cocaine dealer at the time, which was this trans diesel dyke. She was really leather dyke, trans woman. And she says, as she's like as she's weighing on the scales, the stuff, she's going, okay, this is what you do. You tell him you tell him you got congenital stenosis and that you need surgery, and Canada doesn't pay for it here, and they're doing this microsurgery in like you pick the city type of thing. And I was like going, oh my God, what's congenital stenosis? And it's the closing of the vagina walls, and it's like women, women that are born women that are fine with their, women, people that are born with vaginas, that that happens. So many years later, I'm writing a story about that has my sugar daddy in it, and his nickname, my friends called him Yoda because he kind of looked like a little Yoda. He was always running around like doing things for me, and he was like this. He was probably like in his 70s and kind of balding with these ears that kind of stuck out, and he was the sweetest person. So I called this Yoda Stenosis. As I flew through the front door, Tammy hollered from the other side of the penthouse with, "He called you like 20 times. Your answering machine is full. I can hear the delete messages every time your phone rings. Call him or turn your phone off." "Thanks, Whammy," I yelled out down the hall towards her and Robin's room. I rushed into the master suite. Ah, sanctuary, I thought to myself. I went through the first of many fights to get this suite just a few months ago. I threw all my shopping on the bed, kicked off my heels, and sighed as I sat on the satin duvet covers. I wondered how crazy it was that I was so exhausted from today's events. Shopping, alterations and fittings, legs and pits waxed, hair colored and trimmed. All of it was starting to feel like a chore. All of it to look my best for Peter. Well, it was part of my job. This was the first time in my life I had begun to understand the meaning of high maintenance. The late afternoon sun beamed in through my room, balcony, doors, and windows. Dazzling light bounced off English Bay right into my lap. I was spoiled, a kept woman, one full of shame and guilt, my Catholic childhood and constant fear of my dirty little secret. Being exposed to my benefactor never allowed me to enjoy it. Back then, you never talked about those things. You had to remain in a state of complete denial. Only a select few were allowed to know your truth. I'd survived those late 1970s, all the way up to the fall of 1982. Most of my runaway friends who took that bus with me from the prairie and around the Rockies 5 years before had already passed away from either an overdose or murdered by a bad date. But I had made it. I now lived in that penthouse. My first name was now legally Marilyn. I was now 21 and stealthily flawless. Our mantra on that bus was, instinct says eat the worm, and I did. Like a never-ending project of art and design, I walked over to my makeup table and grabbed a long piece of beautiful black lace from an oversized crystal brandy snifter, which contained my headbands and knickknacks, and proceeded to wrap it around my forehead and loosely over my face to shade my eyes as I walked out onto the balcony to have a smoke. I lifted up part of the makeshift veil to light up my jetin, snugly held it in its holder. I looked down at the sunbathers below and remember thinking to myself that the gray sand of our English Bay beaches made them look like sentinel cigarette butts laying in an ashtray. I heard Tammy's voice say, "It's very that look, girl," as she giggled as she fully appeared out on the living room balcony adjacent. She then inquired, "If you're going out with Yoda tonight, just remember Nikki is in town and we're all meeting her at the love affair." "Stop calling him Yoda. It's Peter. And he pays half of everything so we can live in this schmancy dump." I glanced across my room at the answering machine blinking light and added, "I don't know yet, hun." Reluctantly, I walked up to the phone and bedside table and reached to press the play button, but grabbed my driver's license instead and scraped enough Coke for a couple lines, leftovers from this morning's little dabble do ya, just to get things moving. That's it. I'm out, I thought as I tapped my silver straw. But that didn't matter. That was the whole reason I lived there. Robin was the biggest dealer in the West End, probably even in all Vancouver. But that came with a price. I'll just end it there.
That's really cool. That gives us a look into what it was like. I love it.
Thanks, baby. So, we need to do an intermission. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. We've already talked about the coffee a little bit.
Let's tell the viewers who our show is brought to you by.
Our show is brought to you by Ray's Roast Coffee. I'm the sole proprietor of this business. It's at www.Ray's Roast, REYSROAST. And we have microclimate coffees, single origin, single estate coffees, single co-ops, and certainly single country. These coffees are unique in the way that they're grown. They're all grown at higher elevations, and each little farm has its own microclimate, giving you the ultimate in the coffee experience. Oh, we are drinking this El Salvadoran coffee today. Just a wonderful natural processed coffee. Just so unique. And all my coffees are good. If it's on my website, it's a good coffee.
If you're drinking it, bring up your cup and drink it. Drink it, show everybody. Is that a Ray Roast cup?
It is an old Ray's Roast cup, yes.
There we go. Do you have them on your website too?
No, I have no merchandise on the website anymore.
We want merchandise. We want merchandise. Okay, so we have one question from a viewer called Ron LeBlanc. Do you get flashbacks of those horrid incidents, like from the past? Because I was mentioning stuff on the last video, and yeah, I do. It's like I've had to be in therapy my whole life because of that stuff. I don't think I'd be able to do anything if I hadn't been doing therapy for coupled with my recovery, my sobriety for the last 32 years. So yeah, of course I get those. And I think today's show, me talking at the beginning, shows you how, I'm quite aware, when my body and mind are shutting down and I need to kind of pull back. So just answering that question, yeah, and that's why I really appreciate people rolling with me on social media, like, and all my friends like Regina and stuff. Like if I'm, if my PTSD symptoms come up, I just have to pull the plug and I can't do it. So I really thank everybody from the Beyond Trans family that has walked with me through this and understand that. How about you? Do you get flashbacks from stuff that's happened in your past? Yeah.
To a certain extent. I don't think quite to the same extent that you do.
Right.
My flashbacks are more related to good times. I think I had more.
Yeah. But I think for us in a trans sense, I think our dysphoria, anytime we feel dysphoria, is kind of like a flashback.
Right. And so yeah, that's been part of my struggles lately. Is something triggered a bunch of abandonment issues with me here lately. So that would be a flashback because I had this childhood that was filled with abandonment.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that in the trans community for sure. Absolutely.
So true.
So that's a great question. So keep the questions coming. Leave them down below if you got any questions for us and we will get to them. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming to the show today. Everybody in the premiere, thank you. 11:11 Pacific time on Tuesdays is when we do it. But please make sure that you have your notifications on, you've subscribed to the channel.
And subscribe.
Yeah, and all that stuff. And if you have your notifications on, then you know whether we're going to have a premiere that week or not, so you're not in the dark.
So ring that bell for notifications.
Yeah, have that.
And hit that like button.
Okay, my dear, as always, it's nice to debrief with you and get things out. I love you. And until the next time we're on here, because like I said, I'm going to be doing this project right now. So I know next week is going to be full. So it's going to possibly be 2 weeks until the next show. But yeah, keep your notifications on and then you'll know. And you can find us on all our social media stuff. Links are down below. And yeah, anything else, Regina?
No, I think that about wraps it up. I mean, I want to thank everybody as well. And I will be keeping an eye on you, my dear, to make sure you're not overdoing it, because
thank you.
You will.
Yeah, I do. I have to watch that. That's my work.
And you talk about me watching what I do, and I have to make sure you do watching out for yourself too.
I appreciate that. I really love you for that. Like we were going to even cancel the show, and then it's like the people that I'm doing the consulting for bumped it another week for me to connect with them again. So we were able to do this. So I'm really glad. So thank you for the love and support, Regina. I love you, and let's say goodbye to everybody. Till next week.
Bye-bye.